Welcome to this feature interview. I'm Kelsey Hubbard. Today with me I have Jordan Bennett, a junior and biology major here at Emory and Henry College. Jordan, thank you for joining me on set.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
So your uncle actually owns a Christmas tree farm.
Yeah.
How is that, having that in the family? How is that?
It's kind of cool, and it's kind of different too. When people talk about that, they go, "Oh, really? So you must talk about Christmas trees a lot. Everything must always smell like pine." And it does. So.
It does?
Yeah.
So does this mean that your family never has to worry about getting a Christmas tree?
So we do a little bit of an exchange where my father's an optometrist, so we exchange eye exam for a Christmas tree.
Well,
that's how that works.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I know that you don't personally live on the farm at your uncle, but what do you, I guess, know about the industry?
So it's a subject that really starts several years before even the first tree is sold, because you have to go out and you have to get the seeds or the saplings even, and then plant the saplings, and then depending on how large you want the tree to be before it goes to market, it's a process of 5, 10, 20 years to wait for it to grow, and then even when the tree is fully grown, you're working throughout the year to thin out the trees that are infested, or to thin out the trees that aren't going to be able to go to market, aren't as aesthetically ready for that. But then the real big push starts right about this time of year during the Thanksgiving season, when the tree growers are out in the fields working all day and night, cutting down the trees and putting them in the backs of the trailers and sending them down the mountain and sending them to the markets.
Well, that's pretty exciting. I know that you got a grant during the summer to actually work on a Christmas tree farm?
I did. As I mentioned, infestation, especially infestation by the balsam woolly adelgid, is probably the biggest threat to the industry in terms of threatening the livelihood of the trees. And I was talking with my uncle about this, and he was mentioning that it would be great to have some sort of remedy for this infestation that doesn't involve herbicides or pesticides or whatever. And I had been looking into previous research in hemlock trees, and they found that in hemlock trees, which were infested with a similar type of adelgid, the trees exhibited varying levels of calcium and potassium in their foliage, depending on whether or not the tree was infested. And so I looked at that and said, well, is this a system that I can replicate in Fraser fir Christmas trees? And so I wanted to look at that, especially with an eye to the industry, to find if perhaps we find a correlation between, say, for example, calcium levels and Christmas tree infestation. If there's some sort of engineering we can do to perhaps either increase or reduce levels of calcium in the Christmas tree to mitigate the effects of infestation.
So how did you hear about the grant that you got?
So I had been basically looking for something to keep me occupied over the summer, and I went to my professor and I said, I'm looking for something to do over the summer. I'd like to do some research. Do you have any recommendations? And she recommended this grant to me because it would be ideal for structuring a project of interest for an undergraduate like myself. Especially like the kind of project where I can kind of design it, set it up, execute it, and then present on the research. And so she recommended this granting agency to me, and I said, let's give it a shot. And so then applied and got the grant.
So did you actually work on your uncle's tree farm, or was it a different one?
I worked on several tree farms. I set up my uncle's tree farm as one population that I tested, but I sampled from several other populations from other tree growers in the area, and then I also sampled a wild population as well.
Well, that's exciting. So I guess kind of going a little bit back to the Christmas part, it's that time of year. What exactly is your favorite part of this time of year?
It's probably the atmosphere. Just kind of everybody is singing the Christmas songs and getting their trees set up. It's a very jovial time, and it just always makes me excited, even in the midst of finals and stuff.
Oh, definitely. So I got one last question for you. So I'm sure lots of your friends come to you and go, "Hey, can you hook me up with the Christmas tree this year?" What is your response to that?
So I tell them if they're nice to me and if Santa approves, then I'll see what I can do.
What a great answer, Jordan. Thank you for joining me on set today.
Thank you.
This has been your feature interview. I'm Kelsey Hubbard with Jordan Bennett.